29th September 2022. Remember this date, when India took a giant leap for women's rights. India's top judiciary giving the option of safe and legal abortion to all women of this country. It is a landmark significant judgment because it reaffirms the commitment of India to the reproductive autonomy of women and puts us on the world legal map. So the bench headed by Justice Chandrachud said that the marital status, which means married or single women, cannot be a ground to deprive the right of abortion to the women of this country. It also adds on that whether married or single, up to 24 weeks, all these women will have a right. And importantly, even marital rape, which is in terms of a married couple, it will be a ground similar to that of rape and assault to terminate an unwanted pregnancy. This is a huge development because this means that India's top court has put constitutional rights and not religion ahead. Principle, not politics. And all of this for basic health care of women of this country. The world should hear this out. India's top court has said, inequality in access to abortion is violative of the right to equality before law and equal protection. Marriage is no precondition to rights of persons in terminating unwanted pregnancy. Continue to hear this out. The court observed that the law should not decide the beneficiaries of a statute based on narrow patriarchal principles about what constitutes permissible sexual intercourse. Exactly how, as modern times should acknowledge. The top court also added that vulnerable women from weaker socioeconomic background cannot be forced to give birth in the name of social traditions or religious practices. India's message is clear. All women in this country are entitled to safe and legal abortion. And how amazing is that? Because no woman should be forced to carry out an unwanted pregnancy. It's as basic as that. Because women die in childbirth. They die in pregnancy. And therefore, it is basically just respecting the fundamental right of a woman's life. And now, I will quote data, not rhetoric, to expose the first world hypocrisy that loves to lecture India on everything because, of course, we are a conservative, patriarchal society that knows nothing about the civilized modern world. Let's begin with Ireland. Remember Savita Halpanavar, Indian origin dentist living in Ireland. The 31-year-old, 17 weeks pregnant woman started to face severe back pains. The husband rushed her to hospital and asked and requested for an abortion if, as the doctors said, this was going to lead to a miscarriage. The hospital administration categorically told her this is a Catholic country, abortion is not a possibility, it is illegal. She had to wait for 6 days for the heartbeat of the fetus to stop. By then, her condition had worsened. She was diagnosed with sepsis, suffering major multi-organ failure. She died in the next 10 days. Only because she was not allowed an abortion at the risk of her life as well, despite petitions across the country. As opposed to this, India's Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971 gives that option of abortion at least up to 20 weeks for married women and 24 weeks in special category cases. The land of freedom, the first world, lectures India on women's rights. But today, India, with its feisty women who are reaching out to the court, appealing, and with a supportive judiciary for women's rights, are now showing how it's done. Now let's talk about the world superpower, the first world, United States of America, which shocked the world when its 1973 Roe versus Wade judgment on abortion was overturned, which meant about 14 states, half of the country, was now heading to snatch the constitutional right of a woman. Pro-life really, over woman's dignity and health. At a time when she's clearly going to be the prime caregiver, she's going to be not only changing her own body, giving birth to a child and becoming the main caregiver of that child. Take the infamous Texas Heartbeat Act, which bans almost all abortions post 6 weeks of pregnancy. Contrast this with the Indian scenario where the discussions of legalizing abortions started in the 1960s, even when then only 15 other countries had done so. Now, the United States of America says that this is about prioritizing the right of a fetus because that also has a life. While India is talking about the legislation and deciding and discussing about the basic right of a woman on her own body. And that is also pro-life. Even in India, the Murugan Nayakar versus Union of India case is about even pushing it forward to 24 weeks of pregnancy that could be terminated in special category cases, for example, in the rape case of a minor girl. In the United States of America, the debate is still stuck around not only the law of abortion, but also about the religious belief. The Catholic believe that abortion is a sin. And this is one of the reasons that American abortion rate has anyway been coming down, leading even to teenage pregnancies across the country. Now let's talk about the world. Abortion is banned in 24 countries. About 90 million women, which is about 5% of the total world population of the reproductive age, do reside. And this stretches from America, Asia, Africa, does not include India. Senegal, Mauritania and Egypt in Africa. Laos and the Philippines in Asia, El Salvador and Honduras in Central America, Poland and Malta in Europe. In El Salvador, for example, women who have tried to discreetly get an abortion have faced charges of aggravated homicide. Allegations of murder have been passed against them. Under the influence of the Catholic Church, in 1993, the Polish parliament passed an act and the strictest ban that was placed against women seeking an abortion, quoting that even the fetus has an inherent right to life, and that since the time of conception. And now, given the USA overturning the verdict, USA and India actually are standing at the opposite ends of a spectrum, and India stands on a higher pedestal because it's reaffirming the woman's right to her own dignity, health and choice. Now, India also took this step because there have been too many preventable deaths of women, specifically with regard to unwanted or forced pregnancies. I'm going to quote the National Family Health Survey to you. Now, some of the abortions that were sought by women, almost every second woman, which is about 40% of those seeking an abortion, terminated an unplanned pregnancy. Reasons also included the health factors at 11.3%, the last child still too young at about 9.7%, complications in pregnancies 9.1%. Interestingly, given still the society that India is, 4.1% of women shared the non-willingness of their husband or mother-in-law as one of the reasons for seeking termination. This, remember, in a country which is densely populated, does have limited resources, giving this option to the woman to decide, because she's also the primary caregiver, is significant. According to United Nations Global Report, at least 8 women die of unsafe abortion procedures. Between 2007 to 2011, at least 67% of abortions have been unsafe and have led to complications. With this new ruling by India's top court, India stands more progressive than United States of America. And we still have a long way to go. Yes, absolutely. India is a conservative country with deep patriarchal roots. But we have made a start and we are heading ahead, not backward like the USA. But we will also not lecture the USA or the UK or any other country. What Indian women will do is, we as Indian citizens will truly lead by example as free citizens who have a choice, and that's also pro-life. Thank you for watching.